Hello everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling on February 13th, 2015, and, this week they pretty much, actually, they did what they probably should have been doing, which was kind of either continuing on with their storylines with which they have been going with, or building towards the next week, and in some of those cases, it was kind of questionable why they decided to go along with it, and I would basically say, I will start off on those questionable aspects. I said this in the past in a different review. I'm not a big fan of them using other shows that they have to build the wrestling storylines. I said this about Total Divas, building the storylines on the actual Raw and SmackDown shows. I'll go ahead and use this, even though it led to a great match. I'm always up for a Bobby Roode Austin Aries match. It was a fun match to watch, but they used it basically. They used the premise of their countdown show to, build this match and the rankings and everything like that, which most people don't really even have a grasp of, that they are doing rankings or have a ranking show in any way, shape, or form on on Destination America. So I'm not a big fan of the aspect of why they had the match. They were building this. They were building the battle royal, the Gauntlet Battle Royal for the next week for a shot at the #1 contendership for the TNA heavyweight title, and that was the whole. If they were grasping on that as like two people that were going to be in this battle royal, and this is the reason why they're having the match, that's a little bit better to me. But the whole aspect that they use the rankings and everything like that they have, that most people probably don't even know that they have to begin with. Wasn't a very good premise. I don't like the aspect that they use other shows to build their storylines. And again, like pretty much right after this segment, like I said, Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, always a great match, fun match to watch here. I'm never going to discount the match in any way, shape, or form. I just discount maybe the premise why they actually had it this time. And then right afterwards, they did it again with. And don't get me wrong, I'm always up for them, trying to build around or make the fans happy with some kind of local or something like that. But to make it a major point of the actual Impact show, where most people that will be watching have no clue or even a caring on why or this match in general, again, behooves me. It does not. It's something that I'm not necessarily too fond of. Obviously, it maybe towards the British fans, it kind of it works and everything like that, and where they're at in the locals, it works. But that's where it actually goes. They don't have the full scope of this particular storyline with the British Boot Camp the British Boot Camp 2. Most people probably haven't even seen that. Obviously, the people there, because they are in the Great Britain and Scotland area at the point of these tapings, they would get it. And obviously, they were very much behind the guy that Al Snow was going after in this case. But for most fans watching, it's kind of like, okay, we'll go with it. And now the two of them are going to be having a match next week. I did like the promo. Don't get me wrong. I thought it came off pretty good. You could definitely tell how much Al Snow was coming off as a heel in this case. And obviously they're behind the hometown guy in this case as well. So that was at least a little bit of fun. Maybe the match will be fun next week, but again, storyline premise, maybe not the best of ideas, in my own personal opinion on this case. So this basically built. After those two areas of the show, basically, like I was saying, decent promos in those both cases, but not necessarily the best storyline premises of why they were doing it. Of course, you had, a few other builds up going in there. Well, maybe kind of builds. They had, of course, a random match with Madison Rayne, who did who did a decent promo before having herself interrupted by Awesome Kong. They had their match. You can tell they're trying to build Awesome Kong towards some kind of feud, probably for the Knockouts title here in the very near future. And we'll see what they actually go for in this case. Like I said, I would assume it's for the Knockouts, going after the Knockouts title at some point. But they could go in a completely different direction. They always have the rivalry with Awesome Kong and Gail Kim they can go with. So we'll see where they go with it. And all in all, what you would basically expect Awesome Kong going over big. They're trying to put her over big in this case after her feud with Havoc. So we'll see where it leads off to. You had Matt Hardy getting interrupted while he was trying to give a description of Jeff Hardy's health condition by the Revolution. I liked how the Wolves got involved in this case. It brings them back into the tag title picture again, and it looks like they'll probably be feuding off with the Revolution again. Maybe even having some time with Matt Hardy in there. Obviously, because they wrote Jeff Hardy off because he wasn't going to be on the UK tour. So we'll see how that one plays out. It should be interesting considering the Wolves never fully got everything after they lost the tag team titles to begin with. So again, we'll see how everything plays out in this case. You had EC3 and Tyrus going up against Rockstar Spud, Manderson, and JB again, and this is the basic. This is the basic premise you're getting here, and this is the reason why the storyline hasn't finished, is because of the obsession EC3 has with wanting to shave Rockstar Spud's head, and obviously the obsession with Rockstar Spud wanting to beat EC3 at this point. And they played it off again like he was going to get what he wanted, but this time the lights go out, and honestly, I liked how Mr. Anderson came about in this case. Like, just showing up there as playing around that he was going to be with them and everything like that, as or just playing up everything with them. So that came off pretty well, and they do have at least some kind of storyline pass with EC3 and Mr. Anderson. I forget what it was off the top of my head, but I do remember them having some work together in the past. So it's at least not completely incoherent on what they were going with. The one other thing that I found it almost weird that they were going with, but I'm also kind of glad that they decided to continue on with this feud. I thought, having the cage match with Bobby Roode and Eric Young kind of would have been the blow off for that, because they've definitely already had some really physical matches in there, and you figured the cage match kind of ends that feud, but they decided to continue it after the match with Austin Aries. Obviously, Bobby Roode was beginning to cut his promo like how he wanted to go after Bobby Lashley in this case, only being interrupted by Eric Young and taken out by Eric Young completely. I do actually like the fact that they're going to continue on with this. I like how they finally have. I think they fully have transitioned Eric Young out of this comedy character into a full-on serious type character who poses serious threats at any given time, and I definitely like the character direction they went with Eric Young. He had been playing that comedy gimmick for way too long, and it's good to actually see him in a different light in some way, shape, or form. Even if it would have been him as a more aggressive face, it would have at least been better. But the fact that they have having him be heel going up against Bobby Roode, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm glad they're continuing on with this storyline. I liked what they were doing. I also ended up somewhat liking what they were doing with Bram, going after Magnus in some way, or basically trying to call him out throughout his entire match that he was having with Crazy Steve. They had the premise before from the you have Magnus trying to say, hey, even though I got the briefcase, I want to use you as the tag team partner for when the title shot for the tag team title shot whenever they decide to get it. Bram just being pissed off that he didn't get the briefcase himself and decided to attack and take out Magnus. And I like how Bram was coming off in this match, just calling out Magnus during the entire time. Obviously, not time for him to come out and actually, you know, get have those two get involved with each other in any way. But we'll see where they can go on with the storyline. And that one wasn't too bad. It wasn't anything special, but at least it's somewhat interesting of a storyline. And it'll definitely play off well in the UK side with Magnus probably being way over as the face over there as well. This brings me to the BDC and Kurt Angle and Lashley in this case. Obviously, they started off the night with a promo where Angle was trying to get himself a world title match with Bobby Lashley, and you know, interruptions, all that fun stuff, led to a tag match with two members of the BDC and Kurt Angle and Bobby Lashley. You had some backstage promos, basically, you know, the BDC taking care of the rest of Kurt Angle's backup with Gunner and Austin Aries, basically beating them down. Which again, I still don't like that name, so I just try to refer to him as the BDC to try to take it at least a little bit more seriously. As for the match, I'm glad that they decided to have BDC go over in this case. You know, pinning Bobby Lashley in the end. After the loss that they had last week with Lockdown, you definitely want to try to keep them as a serious threat for the time being with this group, and that's at least a decent way for them to do it, to get a win. That proves that they had the beatdowns in the back. That you know, shows them as a serious threat, and then they get the win in the tag team match. Keeps them as a serious threat. I actually like the way that they decided to end that match and in the show in the process. So overall, this week's TNA Impact, I would say, was a fairly entertaining one. I might not have liked some of the storyline premises, but the segments that they went with, those particular storyline premises, weren't that bad to begin with. It's just you know, one of those areas where the storylines, you might not care about them as much as some of the other ones. So we'll see where they go with it all with next week's Impact, and that's my full review this week for Impact Wrestling, and I thank you guys for watching.